Guided by the official Chinese media, many Chinese once thought Europeans would be freezing this winter, but they soon discovered that this wasn't the case. On January 5, 2023, outside the gates of a district government in the city of Shenyang in northeastern China, many people gathered to protest against the bitter cold. It's said that local residents haven't had indoor heating for 9 consecutive days. Have a look, this is the front of Shenyang Municipal People's Government. We have gathered here. We are all from the local neighborhoods. Currently, there is basically no heating and it's very cold. I went to the boiler room and found there was no coal. When I inquired at the heating company, they told us there was no coal now either. Where did the coal go? Was it lost or did they use it internally? We can't really do anything about it. We're just cold. So many people have turned up. People can't stand the cold. The Chinese media has also taken notice of such incidents. According to a report by Taixin, some areas in northern China, including Hebei Province, Gansu Province, and Shanxi Province, which are now very cold, have adopted a policy of restricting the purchase of natural gas. In some places have even cut off the supply of natural gas. Residents of Hebei Province also reported that even if one has acquired natural gas, the quality of the gas is so poor that it isn't even good for cooking. These are residents of northern China. They found that the indoor temperature was much lower than in previous years. They went to the heating company to investigate and found that the coal used by the heating company was of inferior quality. Who are you kidding? How can 67-degree coal meet the standard? How can 62-degree coal reach a temperature of 29 degrees Celsius? Aren't you kidding?
Isn't this taking us for fools?
In other words, residents of several cities have discovered that heating companies intentionally limit the temperature of their homes because they are using poor quality coal or secretly reducing the amount. This is one city where residents took to the streets to protest the low indoor temperatures caused by cutting corners by heating companies in northern China. The city of Hegang in Heilongjiang province recently reached a low of negative 26 degrees Celsius. The heating company suddenly issued a notice to stop heating, and it's not only Hegang that has stopped supplying heat. A day before that, some local residents found that the room temperature was becoming progressively lower. They then went to the coal warehouse of the heating company to check.
That's all the coal in the warehouse, and the access to the warehouse is blocked. Residents can't live without coal. These are the only coals that can be burned in the residence compound. Let's see how long it can last. You still have no actions. The residents' hearts are still not united, and they don't go to the person in charge. Where did it go? All the money you have paid for heating. How long can this coal last? A few days? You don't even think about it. When it isn't your own interests at stake, you don't care at all and won't even bother to ask.
So the woman and her husband went to the heating company to speak to the person in charge.
The room is 15 degrees Celsius. Which of you is in charge? We have paid the heating fee, and this is how you supply heat. It's been over 48 hours. It's cold inside the room, even with a padded coat. The room's temperature has dropped from 21 degrees to 15 degrees. May I ask why?
We can't answer this question.
You're the people in charge. We have paid the heating fee. You have to be accountable.
This is not under our control. The coal is procured by the government, not us.
No matter who procures the coal, what we have bought is heating, right? It's thermal energy. What else did we buy when we made the payment?
The next day, that is January 3rd, a few heating companies in Hegang issued a notice. What they said roughly was that in 2022, the price of coal had skyrocketed, leading to increasingly high production costs, and the company was unable to obtain any government subsidies and had already lost more than $7 million in 2022. In order to stop the loss, the company can only take measures to limit or even stop the heat starting from January 5, 2023. Not being able to get any subsidy may have become the last straw for the heating company. Such incidents took place against the backdrop of the epidemic tsunami, making the Chinese increasingly aware that something isn't quite right in this red country. Is it that there is a lack of resources for people in this country? Or are they themselves the actual mines to be exploited? On January 4th, 2023, the term Huminerals got on the top of Weibo's hot search list. However, it was immediately banned by Weibo and Douyin, China's version of TikTok, and Jihu, the equivalent of Quora, and other major social media platforms in mainland China. The ban by the major platforms has instead drawn more attention from the public. The term Zhenquang, which literally means human mine or Huminerals, is said to be an upgraded version of garlic chives. Garlic chives is a term used to refer to a generation of people who study for 20 years, pay off a mortgage for 30 years, then, when getting sick, support the hospital for 20 years. They are people who are born to be used as a consumable. It's widely used to describe the expendable nature of China's working people. The term Zhenquang was first coined in 1984 when the CCP media People's Daily referred to people as a resource in an article. In 2020, several major party media websites published an article entitled, "China has a mine of 170 million talents for high-quality development." It claims that China's demographic dividends should be combined with the talent dividends to provide strong intellectual support for the country's development. What the Beijing government didn't expect was the sudden emergence of the term Huminerals at the beginning of 2023. It has so far received a great amount of public attention. On China's website, the equivalent of Quora, Jihu, users have explained the term Huminerals in detail, including the following annotations. First, the life of Huminerals is divided into 3 stages: mining, use, and residue and waste gas treatment. In the first 10 years or so, education is invested in you. The purpose is to turn you into usable mines. The middle decades are a process of using and consuming you. Eventually, when you are no longer useful, you are disposed of in a way that is as non-polluting as possible. Secondly, the energy produced by Huminerals during their lifetime is used to move society forward, but also, in part, to develop new Huminerals. Therefore, the Huminerals is a renewable resource suitable for this era of sustainable development. Thirdly, the value of Huminerals is similar to other resources such as coal, oil, and gas. When its supply is overly abundant, it becomes cheap. Scarcity makes it valuable. Fourth, when you realize that you are Huminerals, it means your self-awareness is actually awakened. Human and mine are naturally contradictory in themselves. The awakened Huminerals are painful. If there is nothing they can do and change in order to reduce this pain, they could only play stupid and pretend to be asleep, burning themselves day after day. A Chinese netizen wrote, "I just saw a new term, Huminerals. My brain was like instantly struck by an electric current, and my heart cried out. This term is too graphic, summarizing the living state of common folks in China." Another netizen wrote, "When you see this term, you will immediately be brought into a kind of clarity. Who is the mine? Who is the miner?" On January 5th, the term Huminerals also attracted heated debate on Twitter. Netizens have come to believe that the emergence of the term Huminerals has definitely awakened the nation to a new level. So, what level of awakening is there? People have also thought of their own organs. One of the triggers for Chinese people to make the connection is Gao Zhangsheng, China's former Vice Minister of Culture, and his death in late 2022. This senior official had relied on organ transplants to sustain his life during his lifetime. It prompted another interpretation of the Huminerals by Twitter users. Huminerals, in fact, has an even harsher aspect. That is, they are walking carriers of human organs. Their organs are harvested to help prolong the lives of high-ranking officials and the wealthy. After Gao's death, his colleagues posted tributes on WeChat. An article titled Sorrowful Tribute to Minister Gao Zhangsheng describes how over the years Gao had been tenaciously battling the disease, replacing so many organs in his body that he jokingly said many parts of his body weren't his own anymore. Yes, this vice minister referred to the many organs transplanted into his body as many parts in a very light-hearted way. While the term Huminerals was banned, this article, Sorrowful Tribute to Minister Gao Zhangsheng, was also quickly removed from the site. We previously reported that on October 14, 2022, a 15-year-old male student disappeared from campus. His name was Hu Xinyu and attended a private school in Jiangxi province. Chinese people haven't forgotten him. Many are tracking the case. They believe that this boy from a rural family was the victim of organ harvest because his blood type matched that of a high-ranking official. The link to the video is posted below in the description box. Here is the latest update on the disappearance of Hu Xinyu.
I have the information in hand already. Some of it, we still need the final confirmation from Hu Xinyu's mother. The truth of the matter will often make people extremely sad. The death of Hu Xinyu is actually a planned matter. They originally thought they could settle it with 2 million RMB, but the family refused, and it caught them off guard. The first few missing individuals were actually settled with money. Before Hu Xinyu disappeared, he was actually a successful organ match with a high-ranking patient. He was exempted from the exam and was specially recruited to the school. That year, 150 students passed the exam, and 151 people were actually admitted. Hu Xinyu didn't reach the cutoff mark. He was short of 68 points from the cutoff score. The school lied to Hu Xinyu about getting him a job in the future and also offered him a monthly scholarship of 1,500 RMB. After signing the agreement, he was specially selected by the school and was kept in captivity for future kidney harvesting.
On November 15, 2017, TV Chosun, a subsidiary of South Korea's largest daily newspaper, Chosun Ilbo, broadcast a documentary produced by the station based on a survey of 20,000 Koreans who went to China for organ transplants. The documentary shows that about 32,000 patients are waiting for organ transplants in South Korea. The travel of South Korean patients to China for organ transplants began in 2000. Chinese hospitals offered prices of about US $300,000 for liver transplants and US $200,000 for kidney transplants. There are 169 hospitals in China with organ transplant capabilities. 8 of them are frequented by South Koreans. As we move into 2023, does this specialty service of the Red State stop? It's hard to say. Listen, it's the sound of helicopters flying in the sky, a large number of police officers clearing the area, and many medical personnel receiving the plane in the square. It can be presumed that the patient must be a high-ranking member of the Chinese Communist Party. Suppose the organ cases are considered small-scale events. The wave of unemployment and bankruptcy is sweeping China on a large scale. It has affected almost all levels of Chinese society, except for the upper echelons of the Communist Party system.
Is it so hard to find a job in Beijing this year? Today is my 3,102 days in Beijing. My company's business has started to decline, so in order to cut costs, I have been forced to reduce my salary and work multiple jobs. I've been working in the internet industry for a long time, and I know the market has been bad for the past 2 years, with waves of layoffs, but I didn't expect that it would also affect me. Things have come to this point, and I had wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to change my work environment. I began to submit my resume. I only now realized that it was so difficult to get a job. Last year, I was able to get up to 4 interviews a day, but this year, I'm a bit panicked, either because the recruiter didn't reply or because I never heard from them after the first interview. I know what follows isn't going to be good.
350 days, 350 days without a job, 350 days without income, with some savings that will soon be used up. The new year, 2023, has arrived. What should I do? Brothers, what can I do? What should we do? What can I do? I can't find a job at all. I have no interview at all. Really, not even a single interview notice. I really believe that it is particularly strange that there is not even a single interview notice.
在北京6个月。
6 months in Beijing. What is it like to not be able to find a job? You can't imagine. 6 months ago, I quit my job. After that, I haven't been able to find a job. I heard that it was hard for this program to find a job after graduation when I first entered school, but I didn't expect it to be so difficult. Beijing is a cold city. In the past, Beijing may not feel so cold, but this year, Beijing is getting increasingly cold. That's unbearable.
回家找到理由。
Do you know how miserable the bosses of brick-and-mortar stores in Beijing are? Let me give you a few examples. This first is a friend of mine. He had 7 restaurants in a central kitchen with nearly 400 employees in 2019. He lost all of them in the past 3 years. The second example is a tenant of mine. He used to be an owner of an event company. His annual net profit was about 2 to 3 million RMB. Over the past 3 years, not only did he lose his company, but he also lost his apartment in the east of Beijing, but there was no way out. His kid goes to school in the east, so he has to rent another apartment in the surrounding area. The two of them are just snapshots of Chinese business owners in Beijing. They aren't that bad because after all, they are debt-free. The most miserable one I've heard of has not only lost all his efforts for 7 years, but also gone into debt for more than 10 million RMB. Although Beijing is now starting to return to the way it was before the lockdown, gradually, some people will never work in the brick-and-mortar business again. On the one hand, they are scared. On the other hand, there was really no more money.
现在呢，国家针对这个疫情管控呢
Now the country has been completely open on the control of the epidemic. This year, the industry of electronic factories is very difficult. You see the picture in front of you. You should be able to feel it. Our factory started manufacturing in June this year and worked until mid-November, and then there was no more orders. Then, many machines were removed from the front. This year is really no comparison with previous years. In previous years, around this time, we were working feverishly. A lot more employees with many overtimes. Seeing the scene in front of us, there is an indescribable heartache inside. In previous years, we worked in the factory until 10 days before the Chinese New Year.
看到大年的20多。
Along with the unemployment and bankruptcy, a wave of to demand one's unpaid salary continues in many parts of China at the turn of 2022 and 2023. When local governments run out of money, the first people to be defaulted on are sanitation workers. They are the most vulnerable group in the eyes of the government. Several provinces in central and northern China have defaulted on their sanitation workers' wages. In this central city of China, bus drivers haven't been paid for 16 months and are protesting by posting banners on their vehicles. The government runs out of money. Private companies have even less. China's construction workers are also one of the worst victims of unpaid wages because they are usually made up of rural workers who are at the bottom of social strata. See, they gather at the top of a tall building and try to negotiate with the boss at the cost of their lives. Some desperate workers broke the glass of the building as retaliation against the developer who wouldn't pay them. The band of unpaid workers is no longer limited to the lower strata of society. Here are employees of a technology park in Guangzhou demanding their salaries. Here, the people who shot the video say a total of more than US 1.5 million in wages are owed. This is a well-known local newspaper in Shandong province where journalists and editors are defending their rights and demanding their salaries. When we see all this being played out in China, it's easy to understand the birth of the word Huminerals. It's been described by various internet gurus as a very powerful creation and has no doubt conveyed the tragic anthem of this era in the Red Country.